Hi, Donna here. Thanks for joining us for our Wine Wednesdays. I wanted to make one comment about last Wednesday's tasting when we tasted that Earthquake Cabernet. I am typically not a Cabernet drinker. However, that particular Cabernet for me is very easy to drink, and I can even drink it without food. So for all of you out there that think you don't like a Cabernet, I would highly recommend giving that one a try. And now, here's Bob.
Howdy, everybody. Welcome to Wine Wednesday. Today, we're going to talk about Zinfandel. Any of you who have spent any time with me drinking wine know that I'm a big Zinfandel drinker. And I know there's a lot of you out there who have drank wine with me. Zinfandel is just a big, rich, dark red, big fruit, sometimes big alcohol wine. It's a wonderful wine for, just sitting around drinking, for steaks and hamburgers. And many people I have turned on to Zinfandel over the years, and they have thanked me for showing them the way. Anyway, Zinfandel was thought to be an American grape. It was thought to be an American grape because it did not die off during a lot of the invasions of bad diseases that affected the vineyards, both in France and in America. The biggest one was phylloxera, which wiped out France a couple of times, and the California vineyards also. And when that happens, they have to dig them out, they have to burn them, they have, and then they have to replant, and it's a long, arduous process. Makes your wine get more expensive. But anyway, it never died off. So there are vineyards in California of Zinfandel that are over 100 years old. And therefore, those are determined to be old vines. And old vines produces less wine. As any of us who are getting older know, you're not quite as productive at an older age as you are at a younger age. And grapevines are no different. It takes more grapevines to produce the same amount of wine that a young and vibrant vineyard would produce. In 1967, individuals determined that Primitivo in Italy was the same thing as Zinfandel. They genetically tested it and found out that, oh my goodness, we finally have found out where Zinfandel came from. It came from Italy. And so that was the big thing in the late 60s. But then in 2001, it was found that both the Primitivo and the Zinfandel came from Croatia. The mother of Zinfandel was found to be there. So they sort of came out of Croatia at about the same time and went in different directions, both to Italy and the United States. It came to California in 1852. Now that's interesting in that it was in the United States much before that, and actually grew in New England. Now it's pretty cool up there; it gets pretty cold, but that's how hardy that Zinfandel is. It's a very hardy grape, but it loves the warm climates. It absolutely thrives and loves warm climates, and it does great in California, and particularly in the central coast of California. Paso Robles and Lodi are two areas that Don and I drink a lot of Zinfandel from these days. And then if you combine what I was talking about with old vines, if you look on your label and you see it's from Lodi or Paso Robles and it says old vines or ancient vines on there, you can pretty much be happy that it's going to be a good quality Zinfandel. Mentioning old vines, there is no rule. Okay, there is no law. There's no wine dictate that says what does old vines mean. Now, in the wine industry, it's generally accepted that 50 years is that number. But there are some wines that that say old vines on them, but they're selling for $11, $12, and generally you can believe that all the juice isn't old vines. Some of the younger juice would be blended in with it. Because your older vine Zinfandels tend to cost a little bit more. Zinfandels generally are not nearly as expensive as their Cabernet counterparts. but you'll enjoy a big red Zinfandel.
So as you're traveling through your wine store, take a note that a lot of the Zinfandels and the red blends will have crazy names on them, such as Freak Show, Seven Deadly Zins, Wild Thing, and Clinker Brick. And I don't know why, Bobby, you think that
Why they do
out
that?
of all the wines, those are the ones that seem to have the craziest names attached to their label.
Well, I think it's just that Zinfandel's never taken itself very seriously. You know, Zinfandel being the native American grape, and we weren't having to think about being French in any way, shape, or form. They just made fun of themselves and had fun with it to attract people to the wine. They were doing some marketing. And there, you walk through the Zinfandel section, you'll see a lot of crazy names. But it's okay. It's okay. Generally, I'm not a big fan of that. And I won't buy a Cabernet or a Sauvignon Blanc that had wild, it's like Wild Weasel Red, Cabernet or something. I'm not going to be there. They sort of take more after the French and are much more classic in how they market their wines. So, you know what it's time for? It's time to drink. Absolutely. Today's wine. Seghesio Sonoma Zinfandel. This is the 2017. Seghesio is a wonderful, wonderful Zinfandel producer. They produce 7 or 8 different ones. So make sure when you're looking, if you want to get this one in particular, that it says Sonoma on it. There'll be Old Vines. There'll be different Fiddletown. There'll be all kinds of different vineyards that are going to be on there. But this is a great one, year in, year out. The 2017 Wine Spectator gave it a 91. Now, we talked about ratings last week. You can take it or leave it. You can agree with it. But generally, when you see a 91, it's going to be a pretty good bottle of wine. This is a $20 bottle of wine, basically. So let's go ahead and pour some of this wine and see what wine. Notice I'm pouring, and I have this little silver thing sticking out the top of it. This is just a little Mylar circle. See? Little Mylar.
Saves from a mess on your table.
It fits in there. These things are not very expensive. You just rinse them off and throw them back in the drawer and bring them out for your next bottle. This will save Aunt Ethel's little white blouse at Thanksgiving because it won't drip or pour and all over the place. So it's a wonderful thing. They're inexpensive. I highly recommend them. They work very, very well. So anyway, Zinfandel, dark fruit, big Bing cherries, blackberries, a little bit of baking spice kind on the back, maybe even a little pepper. Let's give it a try. Yep,
Very good.
It's good. This is a wonderful Zinfandel. It's funny, I'm talking about Lodi and I'm talking about Paso Robles, and then I whip out a Sonoma Zinfandel.
Yeah.
So, yeah, well, that's me. Sonoma is a wonderful place for Zinfandels also. So, don't worry about that. Sonoma is great for a lot of wines, and they're particularly good on Zinfandel. One quick thing. Look at here. Here's another Zinfandel. You've seen this one in the grocery store, I'm sure. Gnarly Head. This is a 2017 also. Wine Enthusiast gave it 90 points. This is $11. This is $20. Is 1 point worth $9 more? I don't know. It's in the eye of the beholder. But anyway, don't be afraid to try these wines. Get some red Zinfandel. You're going to find a new favorite. Thanks for joining us. Cheers.
Cheers.